Come with us as we do this episode right now about IP, animation, and what we do with it. It's good, it's great. What will we do? Maybe Witcher, maybe Star Wars, maybe Mass Effect 2. Wow, I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but...
That is a Witcher song you were doing, weren't you?
Was it?
Or was it? Was it not? Was it not?
I was like... I was leaning more towards like Critical Role, to be honest, but... We really should do it on the podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to NMI when you need what info.
Hey, welcome, copyright people. If you want to copyright us, now's the time.
Yay! Bonus episode time. So obviously, as you just saw with our recent episode for the Flash review and spoiler discussion, we were telling you we were going to release a second episode. This could be on the Friday as well, or could be on the Tuesday. If you're getting this on the Friday, yay! If you're getting this on the Tuesday, I had a rest. That's all I'm saying. James is still trying to figure out.
It's Skyrim.
That's it.
It's a Dragonborn comes.
Oh my god, I can't believe we didn't actually think about that, to be honest.
It's Skyrim.
That's fucking hilarious, to be honest. We didn't get that. Especially, how many times have you played Skyrim?
I mean, I haven't played it for about a year.
Yeah, but I
played it for about 6 months last year. I probably played like a couple hundred hours on it. So
exactly, yeah. So how did you not know from the beginning? Mind you, I fucked up the tune, to be honest.
I mean, that is exactly why. Because
thank you, because I fucked up the tune. It's the best way to describe it, to be honest. But yeah, obviously, welcome back, people. Obviously, we gave you a little bit of a hint in the intro what we're going to be doing this week. Obviously, with NMI episodes, what we tend to do is sometimes is we do discussional topics, reviews. We do top lists and everything, which we haven't actually done one of those in quite a while, to be honest. But I don't mind doing them as much anymore. Like, I think you can only do so many top lists to a point, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. It's nice to do something different.
And I think it's been a little bit since we've done the discussional episode as well.
This might be a top list, but I think it's quite a different top list from...
I think also when we did our remakes we'd like to see made, or video game adaptations we'd like to see, those sort of count a list as well, but it's because we had more of a discussion about them.
Yeah.
I think it's like a very interesting way to approach it, because also your Influx and Time Loops episode, we did list films that we liked in regarding time travel, but
there's a lot of discussion as well.
Exactly, and I think that's the best way to go.
And this is going to be one of these topics, because I only have a few. I don't have many suggestions, but I think there's going to be a lot of discussion.
So as James can see, I actually had a lot of games I could have talked about for this, but I whittled them down quite a bit, to be honest with you. Yeah, James is just looking at the list right now because he's finally seeing the list for the first time. But yeah, no, obviously, here, as we said at NMI, we like to do discussional topics and everything. You've just had the review for The Flash. We're going to be doing this week. Obviously, we can't really say how we've been this past week, because we're actually recording this at the same time that we did the Flash episode that you just previously listened to.
Talk about how I've been the last half hour in between.
The last half an hour has been nice. Well, actually, it's been very fucking warm, to be honest.
Yeah, it's quite warm here.
Hopefully it's not as humid when you go outside, to be honest.
Well, I'm completely fine with this temperature. This is cooler than it is in my place.
Yes, but I have built-in thermal insulation. This is hell for me.
That is true.
This is hell for me. Great in the fucking winter.
Yeah, and it's the opposite. I fucking hate winter.
Exactly. Yeah, you're
a little weedy fucker.
Yeah, I'm not. It's just the way it is. It's just the best way to be there sometimes. But yes, obviously, if you want to email into us though and see what you'd like for us to possibly discuss in the future, I know we've got a retro games episode coming up soon, and one of the big questions we're actually going to be doing in that episode is what qualifies something as a retro game, or what era qualifies as retro? Because we just had a brief discussion about this off air. Is it the console generation? Is it, what game specifically do we equate it to? Or this is the odd factor, because a good friend of ours, Kevin, actually said the suggestion. We won't say his last name. What about PC games? Does it go by graphics card generation? Because they come out a lot quicker than consoles. I think PC would be a good way to go in regards to quantifying what is a retro game in regard. Because obviously you can go back a lot easier with GOG and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
to see what retro games you could play.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it could be.
But yeah, obviously today, people, we are actually going to be discussing IP we'd like as animation. Now, this could be a film, a TV show. We're not specifically putting it to a certain way to actually make this. We're just going to talk about the IP that we want to discuss. And I can say, as James has said already, how many did you have in total to actually discuss today?
1.5. Well, it will be 2, but it's a tentative second choice.
Oh yeah, and we'll probably have some discussional points in regards to what I've talked about. But I actually had I'm just counting it. I had 15 originally I was going to talk about.
Wow.
So I'll whittle them down very quickly. Zelda, Metal Gear Solid, Infamous, Starship Troopers, Hades, Far Cry, Max Payne, Resident Evil, Bioshock, Assassin's Creed, Crysis, the video game, Devil May Cry, the Metro video game series, Prince of Persia, Uncharted, and Wolfenstein. A lot of different things to go into. Also, I primarily focused on video games, primarily in regards to this.
I was trying to think of films and TV. So
it was a lot more difficult actually when it came to other IP to actually turn into animation apart from video games, because it's been done a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
Obviously, we recently just got the teaser trailer for the Far Cry Blood Dragon animated Netflix show, which is quite interesting. So it's I think it's called Bloodhawk or Thunderhawk or something like that. Be quite awesome. We're also getting the Splinter Cell TV show as well, animated TV show, which would be quite awesome. But the main reason we were actually going to do this episode, we were supposed to do this a few weeks ago, is because we did the Across the Spider-Verse review for our podcast, and we thought to ourselves, well, Spider-Man has perfected, the Spider-Verse movies have perfected the animation film, in our opinion, like the actual storytelling, the animation style. It's absolutely brilliant how it actually works. The thing is, though, when it comes to animation and IP, though, there's so much out there, because obviously we've recently had the Mario movie. There's also rumours that Universal are closing a deal with possibly, it's not specified, Illumination, that there's going to be a Zelda movie or TV show. I hope that doesn't happen, though, because have you seen any of the Illumination movies?
I'm not sure.
So, Despicable Me.
Oh, yes, I have seen them.
They do very over-the-top, funny, ha-ha type movies. But with Zelda, and obviously they recently did the Mario movie, but with Zelda, he's a silent protagonist. It depends on what kind of Zelda you do. It could be the kiddie Zelda, it could be the the more mature Zelda. I think the more mature Zelda is best.
Yeah.
Because I think it will appeal to a lot of audiences, and also you get more of a different tone. But Illumination doing it, they try to pump references into their films constantly, like music, and Zelda doesn't need that.
Yeah, that's fair. If we're doing games into IP, I've got one, so I've got 3 now.
Okay, that's perfect then. James looking at the list, and that's pretty awesome. But I was going to talk about Zelda, to be honest. It is one of my honourable mentions, but I just think I wanted to mention it briefly because I've only really played Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and I think they are absolutely stunningly beautiful video games, and they could easily be translated into a film, like a 90-minute film, basically, or even a 2-part saga. But yes, today we're going to discuss that. We'll start off with our honourable mentions, or specifically me, and then we'll get into our top choices. We'll have a good discussion about them. Maybe some voice actors we want to have them as we're discussing it. Maybe some directors, because this is more like on the fly, off the cuff discussion. But yeah, I'm gonna go off me first because I've got the honourable mentions.
Okay.
So obviously we spoke about Zelda, so we can not go on that point. But my next one is Bioshock.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, just now I was trying to think of various games, and there's one which it's not one I was going to talk about, but it's one that came to mind, and I kind of discounted it.
Because
it could work. It could work.
I know, the Pirates of the Caribbean director, I can't remember his name, Gore Verbinski, I believe.
That's
so
one, yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be creating a Bioshock movie for quite a few years.
Yeah,
and it's been rumored for years to happen. But I think this, on another podcast, Double Toasted, they discussed how would it be interesting doing a prequel show to Rapture with the people in Rapture before the main character gets there, seeing how Rapture fell.
Yeah, that would be good actually.
Exactly, visually stunning. I think also with a lot of animation at the moment, and if you do it in animation like by action, you could get a lot more out of it. Like Arcane did a lot with it. Castlevania, those are the two I go back to primarily. I've still not seen
those. Are they both really good? Are they?
Castlevania's finished. It's my favourite video game adaptation of all time. Yeah. Arcane is brilliant, but the only reason it's just below Castlevania is because it was only one season and it ends on a cliffhanger. I can tell you that.
Alright, fair.
That's not a spoiler. It just ends because we are getting a season 2. It's confirmed.
I'll bear it in mind.
Yeah, no, cool. So yeah, obviously Bioshock was another one, but it'll be interesting because with Bioshock, there's so many different there's 2 locations you could do it. Rapture or, I can't remember the name of the city.
You mean the city in the sky with Bioshock Infinite?
Yes.
Thingamajig, yeah.
A thingamajig, okay, cool. Do you know what? But yeah, with Bioshock itself, though, I think when it comes to...
It will come to me.
Yeah, no, Bioshock... Infinite. Let's have a quick look.
Oh, we'll just wiki it.
Yeah, we'll just Google it. It is in the city of Columbia.
That's the one. Yeah.
I knew it was like an American style name, city, and whatnot, but I think because also with Bioshock, you could do it as an anthology series, so you could easily do each season as the separate games. You could get 3 tight seasons for Bioshock, and you could do that really well. Directors for this, can't really talk about, to be honest. Voice actors I can't really talk about as well because it's more of an honourable mention. So, obviously, those are my 2 honourable mentions with Zelda. My final one was Hades.
Yes, I mean, that'd be interesting. I'm trying to work out how you would do. I suppose there's some good conflict between Hades and his father, but I'm kind of curious to see what your vision is in order to actually make it into an anime.
So, with Hades itself, I think the animation in the cutscenes is beautiful as well. Yeah. And you can literally, I think this is one of the times we could say, just bring the main voice cast back from like the video game itself. How like
in terms of story, I mean, the story is very set. The story is as it is because it's a roguelike, and it's very clever way how they do the story, but the whole narrative is the gameplay.
True, but the way I see it is, have you ever seen the show Russian Doll?
No, I know it, but I haven't seen it.
It's the time influx episode. Well, so it's the Groundhog Day approach.
Yes, okay.
Do that. I think like each episode could end with Zagreus like getting to the next boss, and then he gets kicked back to the beginning, and then he zooms past it, and he's like, okay, how do we do this again?
I see, I get you. So, I'll tell you what, another one which it sounds similar to your approach is Edge of Tomorrow, the film.
Yes, that is a perfect way to go about it. I think because like he learns, he repeats, and I think that's a perfect way to actually approach. Yeah, that's fucking brilliant. Like thanks, man. Edge of Tomorrow is like a perfect example of doing Hades, and I think people would really like it. You could literally do it as a one-shot season as well. Obviously, we're getting Hades 2, the video game, so when that comes out, we could possibly have a second season of that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how they approach Hades 2. Will it be the same style of like constantly dying each time, going back to the beginning? Because I don't think it would work that way, but we'll see how that goes.
Yes.
But Edge of Tomorrow, never thought about that. That's why the lovely James is here, people.
Yeah, that would be a great inspiration if you wanted to do Hades. Yeah.
Well, didn't we literally talk about Edge of Tomorrow in the Our Time Influx
We
episode?
did, absolutely. I mean, 'cause it's a great film.
Oh, why didn't I think of that? Because they were supposed to be doing a sequel of that, to be honest, but it never happened.
We've been talking about doing a sequel for that for a very long time.
But yeah, those are my honourable mentions, people. Those are my honourable mentions. I think we're going to hand over to James first, though, and we actually talked about this very, very briefly in the singing intro.
I've just come up with a topic we should do at some point.
Okay, let's throw it out there.
On here. But it's because we're talking about Edge of Tomorrow, and I've got other films in my head about this. What films do we feel should have ended earlier than they did?
That's kind of good, because also I think we should do we need to do an episode on like shows and films that should have gone longer than they did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good dual episode for a week. I quite like that. Or maybe two weeks of recording. Yeah, good topics, people. Getting the topics coming out as we record the episode. This is on the fly recording, people. This is on the fly recording. It's amazing. But yeah, so obviously
give you a little taster as well into what might be to come.
Exactly. Perfect tasters indeed. Right. But yeah, we're going to hand it over to James now, I think, do you want to start off with the smaller ones first that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about games, and I've just thought of my game. So this is a game that I've always wanted to see on the big screen. I've even got an idea as to how to write it. And it was a game which was at one point, when soon after it was first released, optioned to be made into a film. But as with a lot of game to films, it fell through very early on. And it is the original Deus Ex. The Deus Ex released in the year 2000, that one. So it's a big conspiracy story. It's all about massive globe-trotting conspiracy spy story. You could do so much with this. I just want to see this on the big screen. There's a lot of philosophical aspects to it. So it is a very convoluted plot, and we would have to. And I would advise them to rework some elements. There were some things which didn't work with story, some things which did. But to me, there's so much good with this story that I would love to see it actually on the screen in some form. If it's not live action, then animation. And actually, I think this would work well as an animation.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like Cyberpunk Edge Runners is a perfect example of how you could adapt.
Although I am a Fergus. Ooh, I don't know if I'm a Fergus 6 on it. I might even be a 5 on that one.
Do you know what? I think I gave that a 7 or an 8. I quite liked it, but there were some things I really had issues with, to be honest. I really don't like the title sequence.
I think I'll give it a 5 for me. I didn't mind Edge Runners. I love seeing the world of the Cyberpunk game and recognising it in the animation, but it didn't massively jive with me.
So let's throw it out there. JC Denton.
Yep.
Got a casting choice for that possibly? Throw it out there.
I mean, if it was 20 years ago, probably Keanu Reeves. But I suppose you want somebody that's a character in the games who was modelled in order for the player to put their own interpretation of. So I think it's a character which the writer should be able to develop in their own way. I wouldn't mind if characters comes across as quite different to how a character comes across in the game, and so Nate is showing me something on the screen. I'm not quite sure who it is. Oh, he wants to cast
Christian Bale.
Was that Christian Bale? Oh, I thought it was. Oh, I thought it was. Oh, God damn, I'm terrible with names. Oh, and he's got a catchphrase. Who's the Interstellar guy I'm thinking of a catchphrase?
Oh, all right.
That's the one.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, that's who I thought you were showing me. But no, I wouldn't cast Christian Bale in that. I probably want to skew a little bit younger. And
well, I'm thinking Christian Bale in the Equilibrium movie.
Okay, I see what you mean, though.
Like, you know,
sunglasses. But there's also somebody who I know Christian Bale has. Yeah, could do this, but I think you also need to cast two characters when you cast JC Denton because you want to cast his brother as well. So I think you want to cast some two people who can pass off as brothers who are fairly similar. So JC and Paul. So I may have to come back to you on that, but I've got my mind rolling around for ideas.
I mean, I'm just sticking with the Batman vibe here.
Okay.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah,
he's roughly. I believe he's roughly the age of JC Denton. Because I'm not. I'll admit, like, you know, preface people, I've not actually played the original Deus Ex game. I attempted to play Invisible War a little bit. Yeah,
Invisible War was a bit of a disappointment. I hate the way they decided to start the story in that because the original Deus Ex ends with 3 very disparate stories, and so with Invisible War they decided to combine those 3 endings somehow and make that starting work as the basis for the first story. And I mean, I don't hate Invisible War. I think it's a disappointment to a Deus Ex franchise, but it's not a bad game per se for the time. It's okay. I didn't fully jive with the story. There's 1 or 2 aspects of it I did like story wise, but yeah, it's all about the original to me. I do like the reboots, and I like to see how they are trying to build it up into the actual story of the original. Playing the reboots, knowing the original story is really interesting. But I would love to see the original story on there. In terms of actors, I'm going to have to really think on the fly here. But I suppose one of the actors a young actor I quite like at the moment because I saw him in Bullet Train. Maybe Aaron Taylor-Johnson.
That is, and also he's going to be Kraven the Hunter now.
I did see a silver trailer for that. So, or was that a fan casting someone's come up with?
Yeah, it's people. Yeah, we're based on Reddit. People having a look through who could possibly.
It's just trying to make people. It's just people who kind of look similar. I think you need somebody in their 30s. To be fair,
Chris Evans.
So, but Chris Evans is about what, 50? Is he?
Chris Evans 40? Is not 50. Like Chris Evans, I think Chris Evans is like in his like mid to late 30s now. I think. Like
I didn't realize he was as young as that. You might be, but
oh, he's 42.
Oh, he's 42. Okay, he's younger than I thought, and that's fair play. So yeah, I mean, it would work. I'd probably want somebody. Oh, but wait a minute, we're talking animation. So sorry, that's me thinking about live action. We're talking animation, so we've got to be thinking about voices.
Yes, that's true.
So we've got to be thinking about voices, not people who look similar.
Can't believe we're on a tangent then we're our own bloody podcast. But yeah, like, do you know what? On the fly, people, it's on the fly.
That's fine. So, who could voice JC Denton? Now, that is the question. We don't want it to be as monotone as in the original game, so we want somebody who can add a bit of flavour to it. And screw it, I'm going to come up with my original Aaron Taylor-Johnson, perhaps. But bear in mind that it's a character that I think a writer should be able to change and insert more character into it than there is in the game. I really just want to see the story out there and the interwoven conspiracy story, kind of like as the episodes go on, and this like tangled web of conspiracies coming together. That's really what I want to see.
Yeah, no, I completely agree there. So going on to my choice now, I'm going to talk about Infamous. Do you know Infamous, the video game?
I have heard of it.
So Infamous, I'm talking about specifically starting off with the first video game, which was the Electric Powers video game.
Right.
With Cole, I think it's Cole McGrath. No, it's not Cole McGrath. I might be wrong here. I might be wrong. Oh yeah, I was right. Cole McGrath. Yeah. So obviously he gets energy powers. Yeah. And in the third game, you control Delson, who's played by Troy Baker. So yeah, I love the fact that this was the first game where in PlayStation history, it was like the whole your powers actually changed to the light and the evil side you played and everything. And you could skirt across like metal railings because electric powers, and then there was this whole conspiracy of like this evil creature coming, but you didn't know what it was, and you had to eventually fight it. And then there was the sequel game and whatnot, so it was teasing it. And then the third game, you actually had a character who had 4 powers. It was digital, neon, concrete, and I forgot the fourth one now. But basically, quite visually stunning.
Cool.
And there was another character who just controlled neon, like actually flowed with neon, which I thought, I think in animation would be stunning to see as a fight and whatnot.
Yeah, I could see that.
But the way I see, like, starting off Cole McGrath, like with the lightning ability, I think I'm sad we never got to see a conclusion to this character. Essentially, like he was teased to possibly come back, but I think having a trilogy of these characters coming and whatnot, and then having because also there was like an expansion of Festival of Blood, was like a vampire type thing, goes the way it goes. I just think it would work out quite well, to be honest. And again, when it does eventually come to the third game, the way I see it is, it's like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Right. 4 nations, 4 Earth abilities, Earth, Wind, Fire, Air. And when it comes to Delson Rowe, the 4 powers he has, I think that would work out extremely well in animation. And it's this character who's like, he's kind of a screw up, but he gets these powers and whatnot. And like I believe Cole McGrath, he's like a courier in the first 2 games, and like it just goes. I tried playing the first game again, but I tried to play on the PlayStation streaming service. Streaming games does not work. Really? They need to release PlayStation. Yeah. They don't have PlayStation 3 games on PS5 or PS4. Because there was this whole AMD chip thing that went on. It's just not backwards compatible. Right. They need to figure that out. Yeah. You need to be able to play PlayStation 3 games. But anyway, I digress. Animation-wise, I'm actually leaning more towards Castlevania or... to be fair, that studio does pretty well because they also did the Zeus... like the Greek animation thing, which was pretty stunning. I think for a lot of mine, I think 2D works best. Like, I think 3D could work, like Arcane style possibly. Actually, Arcane is a good example of it working really well. But I think with these type of things, I'm leaning towards Avatar: The Last Airbender style, or more specifically, Vox Machina. Right. Like, they have like a very fluid animation style, and it works out really well. So yeah, I think that's one of my first picks. So obviously, we're going to throw back to James now for his final pick already.
Okay, well, it's not my final pick.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you got 2 more. Yeah, so let's go on to your next one.
This is going to be controversial because this is me trying to scratch at. Not scratch at. I'm getting my words at the moment. Clutch at straws to find something. But one of the things I did think about was that there have been. Well, there was a few years ago anyways, at least one of this, an instance of a sitcom, a live-action sitcom being converted into animation. I am thinking the Trailer Park Boys. They did a 2-series animation a few years back now. And so it did get me thinking, is there any other series that would work as an animation? And so I thought, okay, what can animation do that TV series not necessarily can't do, but maybe not as well, maybe be more expensive to do in live action. And I'm thinking something surreal, something which should have some level of surreality to it, or special effects. And so I was thinking, because this is a show which is fully finished, I was thinking maybe you could do some kind of spin-off with it. Maybe taking place after the show's events have finished. And I am thinking The Good Place.
Interesting. That would be like... So would you... If you were going to do that show, would you do it like maybe a character, an episode, and then they tie up towards the end, possibly, or...
So I would want to change it up kind of quite significantly. So if we did maybe have it where it ended, and we take it on a little bit after that, so we're following new people who have... I don't want to give too many spoilers.
Yeah, of course. We have to be careful of that.
I don't give too many spoilers for...
Go watch it, people. It's a fucking brilliant show.
Yeah. But I would insert new characters in there, new human characters who end up screwing up the afterlife somehow, and it's maybe trying to repair it.
And in animation, you could be more like, because obviously, non-spoiler, there's a character called Janet who like is essentially the controller of these worlds, essentially. Like, and the animation for that style would work out very well, and like being able to adjust things much more quickly. It's much less CG budget heavy and whatnot. And that's really, it's really good. And obviously,
because it deals with from like demons and and the afterlife, you can do more even potentially with you can do more surreal stuff with the that concept with animation.
Would you make it adult rated, or would you keep it like maybe like 12?
I'd probably keep it 12. I think you might better go to 15, but I don't think it needs to be adult. So I'd probably keep it as 12.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, as I said, though, would you obviously have these characters come into it? Because obviously in The Good Place, we meet all the characters in the first episode.
Yes, yeah.
At you do the same thing? Would you have established the characters in the first episode, or will you do like separate characters in an episode and then tie up towards the end?
I'd introduce them all at the same time in a similar way. But again, I would massively change. It would be taking place afterwards. It would be a spin-off. It would be a spanner in the works, kind of like how things are functioning and breaking it, essentially. Finding a way to break that world and then make it interesting from that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That's really great. So, going on to my next one, we're going to talk about Max Payne.
Yeah, I still need to get around to playing the first one, but I played 2 and 3, and I really like those games.
I'll admit, I've never completed any of them. I did play 3 as well for the most part. I think because Enter the Matrix or the Path of Neo, the Matrix game, came out around the same time.
I like 3. I mean, I know it's a pipe dream, but I've got an idea for after I finished 3, I had an idea for the story that I would do if I did a Max Payne 4.
Would you have Mark Wahlberg in it?
Oh, fuck off, no.
I presume you've seen the film.
I have seen the film, yes.
That film is awful.
It is.
That's an awful film. But I think like you could actually. I think this show would be good as black and white. I think it'd be good as a black and white show with this. It's essentially the Sin City approach.
Yeah.
I think that would work out really well. And obviously with Remedy Entertainment, I'd love the idea of basically like how I've heard rumors how like in the Alan Wake game you can read books of like detective stories.
Yes, yeah.
And it's supposed to be Max Payne.
Yeah.
I'd love for essentially in the end to like you do Max Payne first, then you do Alan Wake, and then you do Control, and they all come up to this final conclusion. Not like an Avengers style world, but they're all tied together, and it can work out really well.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, because obviously we're getting Alan Wake 2 in a few months' time.
Yeah. I mean, I really like first Alan Wake.
It's near my birthday, so yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah, and there's 3 games coming out near my birthday: Assassin's Creed, Alan Wake, and Spider-Man's.
Nice.
I'm gonna be eating plentifully, and my wallet's going to cry that week, essentially. But yeah, no, I've always loved the concept of Max Payne. Obviously, the idea of bullet time. Obviously, technically, Blade did it first in medium. But I've heard someone did it earlier than that. To be honest,
I didn't realise that. When was Blade?
So 98.
When was Matrix?
2000. No, 99.
Oh, okay, you're fair play.
Yeah, but I've heard someone did the slow-mos earlier than Blade. I need to find out what happened, to be honest. But obviously Max Payne brought it into the video game world and how that played out. And obviously it was the like neo-noir like style, the gruff detective who does all the constant voiceovers. Obviously I'm not going to be the voice actor for Max Payne. But I think a good voice actor for this, and he's a massive nerd anyway, would be Carl Urban. Because he's already played Dredd.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to think of actors off the cuff here. Have you seen Reacher?
I have not.
But you know what I'm on about.
I know what you want, Jack Reacher. Yeah. I mean, I've seen the original film with Tom Cruise playing Jack Reacher, who I believe in describing the books is a big hulking guy.
6'5" muscle man.
So that was perfect casting with Tom Cruise.
No, the writer has come out and said.
Joking aside, Tom Cruise. I do actually like Tom Cruise as an actor, and he was good in the film.
I mean, the author has actually come out and said he actually quite liked Tom Cruise's. Yes, I believe he said he did like Tom Cruise in the movies though. So, like, I think that was perfectly fine. And obviously, Tom Cruise is a fucking movie star.
Yeah,
like,
no. It's fair.
Yeah, I mean that man saved cinema, as he said. So,
right, yeah.
I mean, Top Gun did kind of really
well.
Yeah, exactly. But no, come back to Max Payne though. I think like you could easily do the 3 films or the three games as a series. You don't even have to do like a long series of episodes, because when it came to Castlevania, I keep coming back to it with Netflix. What they did for the first season was they had 4 episodes for the first season, then 6, then 8, then 10.
Okay.
So they extended the episode
They
counts. But
yeah.
some episodes of Netflix, they're like 13 or 8 episodes, like The Witcher, for example,
Yes.
is 8 episodes. You could do this as a 6-episode animation, essentially. And
Right.
like 30-minute episodes, not even that, possibly. And you could tie up this story, because the first Max Payne game isn't really long. I believe it isn't really long, because obviously it's old.
I've only played 2 and 3.
Yeah, exactly. So we can't really say that to ourselves. But I think I really like to see how this plays out. And obviously I'm a big Sin City fan, like the visual style. I think Max Payne will work really well with that. So that's my next pick. So, right, we're going to come to our final picks now. And the reason I wanted to do this in reverse order kind of is a little bit because I know we're going to have a big discussion now in regards to James's final pick. And also, this was hinted at the beginning. And also, we're definitely going to get into discussion of Netflix as well with this. So I'm going to hand it over to James for his final pick.
So yeah, my final pick is The Witcher. Now, the reason behind this, so I know there's a live action series. I would love to see The Witcher as a live action series. Strange comment since we have it. I don't mind. I'm actually one of those who doesn't mind the series, but especially after the second series, I have been disappointed in how it is diverging so much from the books. The second series was a bad adaptation from the books. It was like 1% of the book was in there, and what was in there from the books was done very, very badly. So I would love to see a faithful adaptation of the books. Now, obviously, being so close to there being a live-action version, you can't do another live-action version so close to that. So the only other medium would be animation. I feel it's a different enough medium you would be able to get away with it. So I would love to see a animation version which was actually faithful to the Witcher saga. We don't need to do the short stories. We could go straight into the first book of the saga. And so I know one of the issues with it was, I think I might be wrong, but I think one of the issues that the showrunner had in adapting the first book of the saga was actually felt there wasn't enough happening. But honestly, character drama is interesting. So Better Call Saul is one of the best shows made. Now that's live action, but a lot of that is character drama. You can make, I'm sure you can make a good season that was faithful to the first book and to the books in general.
So coming off of your point then in regards to like live action and action packed and everything,
yes,
The Last of Us is actually a good thing. I know you haven't seen it. I'm not going to spoil
yet.
it for you.
It's on a very long list of things to watch.
By the way, this is another episode we're doing. By the way, people, we're going to be doing an episode of The Last of Us season 1. So with James and Fergus, they're actually going to watch the season, and myself and someone else who's played the video game and seen the show. We will have a discussion on what they thought of the season, and they will leave, and the other person who's doing the recording with me will stay for the episode, and we will discuss how they're going to do season 2 and how that goes forward, and also get their theories first on how they think season 2 is going to go, and then we can have a discussion at a point about that. But in regards to The Last of Us, though, so obviously in the video game you fight a lot of human characters. That's just, and a lot of like cordyceps is mushroom people. But the director and the creative director of the show said the reason like there isn't as much action, like heavy like cordyceps action in the first season, which people have said this, is because they wanted to focus on the human element, like how dangerous humanity could be, and when that does happen, it's more shocking because it's not consistent.
Yeah.
And then they have said the second season is going to have a lot more, they don't call it zombies, it's infected. There's going to be a lot more than that in the second season because they wanted to establish how the world is broken and how the relationships between people exacerbates when violence happens. I think exacerbates the word. When violence happens, it's much more harder hitting.
Yep.
And I think you are correct then, with character relationships, when you build a good, strong character relationship with someone, when that stuff does hit harder, it really fucking hits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do agree with you on the second season of The Witcher. Like I did read up on like what the book was about, and I was a bit confused with one of the characters that got killed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care so much. I mean, I didn't mind. Well, I didn't mind as much as other people do because it was a fairly minor character in the books. But there was so much as diversion. There are key characters in the story which, from the very first season, they have massively fucked up.
So
I don't understand what they're doing with them.
obviously with Henry Cavill going to the Warhammer universe now, which has been confirmed.
Yes.
I believe he's executive producing that as well, possibly.
I think I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously he'll have more creative control.
I would have loved it if he
show
was an
goes.
executive producer of the Witcher series.
Yeah, because when they said they were being very faithful to the books from the get-go, and as soon as the first season came around with the testicle armor, which a lot of people said...
yeah, I mean, I didn't mind that. My issue with the first season, and I quite liked the first season, I was okay with it. I was okay with the first season.
Especially with the time jumping.
But I didn't mind that. The issue I have is with a particular character, and it's Kahir.
Okay, yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's not the Kahir from the books at all. And actually, knowing his story from the books, I'm very confused to what the fuck they're doing with that character.
And obviously, we had the Blood Origin miniseries,
and that was okay.
Oh
no, Blood Origin. Sorry, I was thinking of the animated film.
Yeah,
I was thinking of the animated film. The animated film was okay. Blood Origin, I didn't mind it, but it did something a little while to get through. I can understand why people hated it. It's
I was shocked it was 4 episodes.
Yeah.
I was actually quite shocked it was 4 episodes long.
Yeah.
Like, because you could have stretched it out a lot more, and also I predicted how that show was going to go by the end of it. To be honest, and it did
was
really
a little bit formulaic,
and also great actors, which were really badly used.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was.
But actually, speaking of Nightmare of the Wolf, really great movie. Obviously, animated movie.
Yeah, that's the one I thought was alright. Yeah.
And we were talking about the fall of Kaer Morhen, and everything. I thought how that final battle worked out. If they did that in live action, that budget would have been quite high, to be honest.
Yes.
That would have been Game of Thrones level, final battle budget levels. And I think that's where animation is king in this regard, because it's much costly effective.
Yeah,
and also,
they
could pump up the seasons quicker. Possibly. The animation, they could get 2-3 seasons in the bag and then release those and then work on the next 3 seasons.
Yes, yeah, they could do, yeah.
If you were going to do the show, though,
yes.
Would you, obviously, with the recent news of Doug Cockle, which is really sad to hear, love to him and everything, would you try and keep him as the voice actor? Would you maybe bring all the video game voice actors back?
I mean, if he's not well enough to do it, then you had to think elsewhere. So if I'm going to think of a replacement, I'm going to say Henry Cavill is a second choice.
I mean, yeah, of course. I think Henry Cavill is obviously the go-to for that, and I think
if it was faithful to the books and it's only voiceover, I think he might be actually would be up for doing it as long as it was faithful.
I think getting one of the DC animated Batman voice actors to come and do it would be interesting.
Yeah, who do you think?
Specifically, Bruce Greenwood, who did the Under the Red Hood.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I actually think he'd be quite a good Geralt, to be honest. Cause he had that the gruff voice, but it wasn't the Christian Bale. It was like the.
Yeah. But I don't necessarily think. I mean, I know Geralt has a gruff voice in the games because that was a stylistic choice. I don't necessarily think he necessarily has to have that. What he does need to have is a sense of world weariness, and because he's a bit of a philosopher, but he's also very world weary, and that's the thing that needs to come across in the character. And
obviously, I believe as the seasons go on, the books go on, they do get more extravagant. They get bigger, and does it get more battle heavy? I want to use the word battle heavy, or
there are battles. There's a big battle in the 5th book. I would say, it's a lot of it is politics. There's a lot of politics going around. It's a journey. So if you like the Lord of the Rings, which is one of the key stories in the Lord of the Rings, is the Hobbit's journey. It's difficult to get really into without spoiling more aspects of it.
Of course, obviously they've stated the 3rd season of The Witcher, which is Henry Cavill's The Parger, is going to be a pretty much faithful adaptation of the book. We will be reviewing the Witcher season 3, and also I've got some comments on that in a minute after your points. But yeah, I'm a bit concerned with The Witcher season 3. I've actually seen a fight scene from that. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Fair.
Henry Cavill puts his all into it. And I think that's one thing that really is going to scare me going forward with The Witcher.
To be fair, he needs to, because if it's a fight that I'm assuming it is in the books, there is a fight in that book where he does need to put his all into it.
Is it a big sequence?
It's a key sequence.
It's a multi-person sequence.
No.
Not this fight scene I'm thinking of then.
Unless I've changed it, but not in the book.
No, this is like a
I
fight.
don't think it is in a book. I think it's just one on
A
one.
fight scene with multiple people involved in it, basically, on both sides.
Yeah.
But I won't spoil it for. I say spoil it for you. You've read the fucking books. But yeah. So obviously, but with animation though, you could easily do the bigger scale battles more because obviously we are getting a Helm's Deep movie, like the origin of Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, we have a battle. You have a battle at the end of the third book as well, actually, which is really good.
Okay, if they
I
do
mean,
that.
it's not as. I mean, the fifth book is where the big battle occurs.
So obviously we have a sorry, I had a voice call come through then. War of the Rohirrim. So we're actually getting a film called War of the Rohirrim, which is War for the Rohirrim. Sorry, which is basically like you know how Helm's Deep was created by someone.
I mean, most things are created by someone,
Of course, but they're actually doing an animated movie about the King of Rohan, who actually created Helm's Deep, like the legendary king, and he defended against a huge army. And the voice actors in it, so Miranda Otto's coming back for it. Brian Cox is the main character in it from Succession. Luke Pasqualino, who I actually quite like from The Musketeers, is in it. You probably won't know him, but yeah. So it's interesting how like you could do different interpretations of things at different time periods.
Yeah,
I think that works out really well, to be honest. And going on by The Witcher, though, I think you are right to say like you can do it in a different sense. You can do this. So like how Lord of the Rings was originally an animation.
right. Yeah,
You know, in the 70s with Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah.
It was interesting to want to say this. I don't know if you've ever seen the animated ones.
I'm aware of it.
They're very interesting in these, but maybe in 10 years' time, like after The Witcher's gone, we'll get an animated version, or like some studio will some indie studio will take the chance and creating The Witcher, as you might say, properly to more faithful to adaptation.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna leave it on The Witcher there. Obviously, come back for our Witcher 3 season 3 review. We'll be doing part 1 and part 2 because they are split a month apart. And I'll tell you this now: if they did, you haven't saw Strange Things. I know this. No. The reason they split it up was because of VFX and all to finish the VFX, but also the final 2 episodes are 4.5 hours long. Right. If the final 2 episodes are not long, there was no reason to split this season up.
For Witcher, yeah. Yeah.
Unless to keep subscribers longer because of Henry Cavill.
I mean, I'm hoping they're not. One of the things that has put me off watching, well, to be honest, the thing that has put me off watching Stranger Things season 4 is the episode length. So I like films.
You'll love it. I'm not gonna lie. I think you'll love it. To be honest, it's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, no, with The Witcher season 3, we are going to review it, people, in part 1 and part 2, and I think also James is definitely going to be here for that review because we can get to see how. When they keep saying the most faithful adaptation, we could get a percentage of like accuracy of how adaptation worthy it was.
So we have 1% for the second season.
Maybe we could get it to 25% for the third season.
I might be generous and say 5% for second season.
Ooh, 5%, bad boy. Okay, right. So going on to my final choice here is a film series that I always go on about. We are going to talk about Starship Troopers.
Right, yeah.
So obviously Starship Troopers is known as like probably like the granddaddy of like sci-fi military like stories. Like the 1950s it came out like with mech armored suits fighting bugs in space. Gundam, a lot of the stuff on Gundam is based off of Starship Troopers with the mech suits and everything, took inspiration from that. And I think obviously there was the 90s animated show, which was like CGI animated show. There was a 1980s 6-part anime that was released, which was a faithful adaptation of the book. Yeah. I'll tell you this now, the book is dry as fuck. Right. Like Paul Verhoeven and some of the cast tried to read the book. He got into 2 chapters. He went, just give me the fucking cliff notes.
Yeah.
He couldn't read the book.
Yeah.
Because it's like fascism and like it's a very interesting story. But I think with Starship Troopers, because I want to take inspiration from the 90s show. Each season was what's called a different campaign. They went to different planets. There's different story arcs. There's also like alien races called the Skinnies that like subjugates of the arachnids. Right. And they come into it later on, and there's sort of intergalactic war from it, and how the humanity are not the good people.
No.
Because you've seen the film, correct?
I have not seen a film.
You've never seen Starship Troopers?
No, I've heard a lot about it.
We're putting it on the list.
Fair.
Yeah, because it's like it's a big fascist story. Like it's literally what if the Nazis won and then they were fighting bugs essentially.
Right.
But the reason I want to do this is an anime. I don't want to adapt the book. I want to do what the show did, the animated show and the film did. I want to adapt it, but further along. I also want to show how, taking into account, because I also did animated films as well, like 3D animated films on Netflix. They karate kick a bug in that movie. It's very fucking hilarious. And they're like 12, 14 feet tall. I love to do campaigns again. I like to go to different planets. I would learn to, the final, because also the show ended on Earth, but it never had an ending. It stopped. They didn't, sorry, not my microphone there. They didn't finish the show. And I'd love for them to do campaigns again, break the story forward, but I'd actually like to sort of like see what if the Federation started having breakups, essentially. Like, what if the Federation started to lean more to the left and with the arachnid threat and everything, and could you see like rogue factions getting together and stuff like that, and make it more complicated and seeing obviously it showed the more right side of the military and the political views of how the bugs were evil. Now, don't get me wrong, they do kill, like mutilate, rip apart people. I saw this film when I was 9. My mum thought it was a Star Wars movie. She was so wrong in the first 5 minutes. And she was like, I can't get any worse. It fucking did. There's an entire sequence where they're at this base and there's 100,000 bugs coming at them. It's just such an action-packed film and series that I think could work out really well. And also with it being one of the granddaddies of sci-fi animation, and with Isaac Asimov, Isaac Asimov.
Yeah.
He did a recent show. A recent book of his Foundation, the Foundation series, has been made into a show. Cool. It's sort of like an unfilmable show, essentially. It's been made on Apple TV. I think looking back on authors from the 50s and 60s and doing adaptations of that differently would work out quite well. And using anime as a basis, you could do a lot more outlandish stuff with it. I'm looking at Cyberpunk Edge Runners as an idea for this. I'm looking at the original Star Wars, the original Starship Troopers anime, but also I'm looking at stuff like the anime. Did you ever see the Animatrix?
No.
Basically, Star Wars Visions did it more recently, where they gave the IP to multiple animation studios, and they did their own stories, short stories in different animation formats. So the recent season had an Aardman.
Okay,
like
that's interesting.
Chicken Run style Star Wars animation. But there was a French one, there was a Japanese one. Like, I'd love to see each season done by a different animation studio, possibly, but seeing different campaigns from different people's viewpoints and different stories.
So we should do a South Park version.
Do you know what? Fuck it, give it to Trey Park and Stone. Is it Trey Park or Trey Stone?
Parker and something like that.
Parker and Stone. We'll just call Parker and
Stone.
The Team America guys. But yeah, I'd love Starship Troopers to happen, because going off of the films, they got fucking awful, by the way. There's a massive religious thing in the third one. Like there's a really cheesy Christian military song, and like, it's a good day to die if you know the reason why. It's very fucking cheesy. And I don't know, I'm just going off of like, we're getting Splinter Cell, we're getting Assassin's Creed animation, we're getting a RoboCop video game coming out soon, which is supposed to be quite interesting. I'd like more Verhoeven stuff, like Total Recall, possibly. Like seeing we got a remake of that.
Still need to watch it. Well, I want to watch the original. Still need to watch that.
Oh yeah, it's fucking hilarious. But we got a remake of Total Recall, and Starship Troopers has been the property that they keep saying for years and decades now, because it's over 25 years old at this point.
Yeah.
We're going to create a TV show in it, but it's really difficult to do because of the whole Nazi-inspired military aspect of it. How do you do a show like this and everything?
Yeah.
There are certain shows that have done it, but how do you approach it? And I think animation would be the best way to do it, because you could go outlandish and mech suits and very anime-inspired. It's literally anime is inspired from Starship Troopers.
Yeah, no, I can see it working.
Come full circle. Literally come full circle with it. And I think that'd be really great to do. And voice actors, you could get the original voice cast back, because I know a few of them came back for the 3D animated movies, could work quite well, but we'll see how it goes, to be honest. But that is my final pick, to be honest. And yeah, again, I'm very passionate about the series. I talk about my favourite film, The Last Starfighter, if I could, but I don't really have any ideas for that. So yeah, but the Starship Troopers was my final pick. So yeah, like shorter episode today.
Yeah, but a good episode. So I think we've done well.
Yeah, no, definitely indeed.
We need to cancel the Netflix Witcher series and get a animation series faithful to the books
Let's
instead.
give Liam Hemsworth a chance.
So no, I agree. I'm happy to. To be fair, the third the third book is my favourite of the books, my personal favourite.
So if they do that well,
If they do it well, then I'll be happier.
it's really sad also that if they do it well and Henry Cavill's still leaving,
Yeah.
that's really sad to be honest. Unless
And the third book introduces my favourite character in the Witcher series as well.
Okay,
So
interesting.
I can say the name of the character.
No, let's leave that for the review. I think it's best because also it might be a big spoiler for people.
That's fair. It'll be in a couple of years.
I mean, is he in the game?
He's in one of the DLCs. He's in Blood and Wine.
Okay, yeah, so I think I know maybe the character you're on about possibly, but we won't say it on the podcast. But yeah, we're going to leave it there today, people. The next episode we're going to be doing is actually going to be the Summer Game Showcase. I think that's the title we're going to give it because there was Ubisoft, PlayStation, Nintendo. The reason we delayed that episode is because Nintendo had a direct today of recording, and we thought they were eventually going to announce the Switch 2. They're not yet. I'm holding out for Gamescom. They haven't done a live show in years. I think there's a reason why there is, because also they kind of need to release a new console now. It's like starting to show. But our next episode is going to be the Summer Showcase. Me and Chad's going to be going through that, finding out what our favorite games are going to be. May have a guest or two extra on that, and we'll go through that. So yeah, and then we're also going to be doing, as mentioned earlier, a retro games episode, a retro games retrospective.
Yep.
That's how I quite like that title, to be honest.
It needs to be old enough, but not too recent to make us feel old.
And that's the thing, people, what we want to say to you. Right, so the question we want to put to you people is, what do you qualify as a retro video game? Is it the console generation, starting with, let's say, before the PlayStation 1, the push of 3D, 3D video game graphics, is that the end of the retro era for you? Or was it the PlayStation 2, where we started going into the second generation of video game consoles from the Nintendo 64 to the GameCube and the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 2? Because that is over 20 years old by that point. You're 22 years old now. But yeah, send in those questions. Or is it a specific video game? Do you tie it to a specific video game for yourself that you feel that the first game you played or the game where you saw the massive leap in technology, that's when you qualify as, that's when retro games ended for you? To do that, email us at nmipodcast@outlook.com. That's nmipodcast@outlook.com. Or DM us on our socials at nmicast on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, we're going to leave it there today, people. Always love to hear from you. This was more of a on-the-fly episode today. Hope you enjoyed it. And we will see you next time. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.